name is Kelly Marshall. I'm the lead project manager for the e-permitting team. And I've been with the state, I think, about 9 years now. I came from City of Salem as the permit services supervisor. So the majority of my work experience is in building. And however, I was their software admin for their permitting system, and so have a lot of experience as well in public works planning and code enforcement. We do offer, I'm going to say that right off the top too, we do offer building as our base module for the e-permitting software. The e-permitting system is free to participating building jurisdictions. It is in fact paid for and supported by the contractors paying the state surcharge, and e-permitting gets 4% of the 12% state surcharge to fund the program so that we can support building agencies across the state. We have about 80 plus agencies participating in the system at this time that we support through our small e-permitting team in Salem. And what else was I going to say? Oh, we offer a also free of charge a public works planning and planning module, an on-site module for counties, and those do on-site, and then also an enhanced built-out record type in the planning module for code enforcement. So I know a good majority of you are new to the system, like 100% new to the system and or new employees. But I do know this time around, I have a lot of folks that have been on the system for a lot of years and a long time using the system, but they're participating today to kind of gain some training, actual hands-on training, or live training, might be a better term for it, of some of the newer functionality that's been in the system that some of the older agencies might not be configured for yet. So lots to learn. Seasoned users, brand new users, we're kind of all over the board today, and that's awesome. I encourage that, in fact, because there's not really an easy way for people to get trained or aligned to the process by design in the Oregon model other than participating in these kind of trainings. So I think it's great. All right. I have logged into, just as a kind of first things first, I've logged into the staging environment, kind of circling it with my mouse at the top of the screen. Staging is a copy of the production environment. We do a copy of every participating agency. We copy their production environment to staging about once a quarter. So about once every 3 months, we do a clean copy of production into the staging environment. The staging environment then is available to all users for practicing, training, learning, testing, and everything in between. And the ideal here in using staging is that it has a copy of your agency's production data. So all of the records up to the time of copy, including all of your agency's actual fees, your agency's actual configuration, and so on. So the staging environment is the most similar environment that you can use to test and train in. The staging environment uses your same production login and password. If you have been added, however, as a new user since the last time we did a copy, because we only do a copy every 3 months, you might find that you're not able to log into staging. And if that's the case, please don't hesitate to just reach out to me or to the help desk, and we will get you set up for staging. I am going to post a message. Sorry, was talking in my ear because somebody was joining the meeting. I have just posted in the chat the URL, the web address for the staging environment. So just a note on that, you can pull that link out of the chat. And again, it's your production login name, your production password, If you are not able to log into staging, just reach out to myself or to our help desk. And I would particularly mention that for the new folks, because that is your place to train and practice and do, kind of repeat maybe some of the things we're learning today. Okay, I am going to go ahead and quickly open the meeting invite because I'm going to open the agenda. Just to have it up here on my screen so we can touch on that real briefly. All right, so in today's session, it looks fairly short, but it's a lot of information. We're going to do kind of the whole introduction to the home screen, what all the buttons are, what all the icons are for. And that's called home view. When you first log in, that first screen is called home view. We're going to talk about how to set up the Launchpad or how to edit the Launchpad if you already have it set up, if you're a seasoned user, how to favorite pages, how to set a custom home page, and a lot of other tips and tricks. Then we're going to talk about the global search, how to do a record list search, what the differences between the two are, how to search smart and successfully in each one of them, and then a lot of tips and tricks for searching. Because one of the biggest things that can be a barrier to the software is you can't find the information. You cannot locate the record you're looking for. You can't locate the record the customer called you about. You can't find the address. You can't find the contractor, etc. You can't locate the data in the database. And we don't want that to be the barrier to you having, good success using Accela e-permitting. We're going to talk about the dashboard versus using a My Task page, the pros and cons between those two. They do display and demonstrate all the same information. However, they have very different pros and cons about them. So we'll be talking about that. Recommended filters and the available filters to use in either case, the dashboard or the My Task page. And then we're going to talk about reference data versus transactional data, what the differences are, because those are super important to know the difference between reference and transactional data, because knowing the difference helps you to manage your records correctly. If you don't understand the difference between those two, you start to have property data issues and record data issues. The demonstration, we'll talk about the key differences there in searching between reference versus the record list, which would be transactional for an address. We'll be using we'll be doing a live search, looking for information, and we'll kind of talk about the difference between those. Now, this sounds like kind of base level information, and I kind of say that more to speak to some of the seasoned users that are participating today. But I could probably put money on the fact that there'd be a lot of new information that you'll learn today. Not only maybe in the tips and tricks side of things, but there's just a lot of newer functionality for our agencies that have been on the system for a long time. And there's just a lot of little nuances with every upgrade we've made and things like that, where there have been changes, that there will be new information to be learned today, no matter how long you've been on the system. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump on in here. So this is called Home View. All I did was log in. That's all I've done so far. I did log in to the City of Astoria in the staging environment. I use their city agency or their city instance for my trainings. And right out the gate, you can see it says, "Welcome, Kelly." So it acknowledges me as a user. I have these two cards. These are called task cards displayed here, showing that I might have some tasks that are assigned to me. We'll get to that here in a while. But first, we're going to talk about kind of all these like little buttons and icons and everything around the edges here. One, my initials are indicated up here. I'm kind of circling in the upper right-hand corner that I'm the logged in user, Kelly Marshall. And then we're going to kind of we'll just jump on over here and we'll talk about what's going on here. Notice that this icon is kind of outlined. This is the active icon. This icon is called the dashboard. The dashboard is what is showing me these task cards. So that's what this icon is. And we'll actually come back around to the dashboard and talk about that as the agenda mentions in much greater detail as we move along here. But we'll do that a little further into the training. This is called the global search. Notice when I click it, there's a flyout that allows me to search for things. We'll actually come back to that. And this little 9 squares is called the Launchpad. The Launchpad is kind of the key flyout here. As I click and deselect this, that flyout comes in and out. Let's talk about what it shows here for us. First of all, I have a button for creating a brand new record. So I can do an intake directly from the Launchpad, immediately kick off a new record creation, create a new record or permit. I can look at the most recent records that I've touched, 10 or so of them. This is the last multiple records that I've had open, addresses, records, what have you. It doesn't matter the module that I've touched. And so I could easily hit my Launchpad, go back into recent records, and pull back up a record I had open earlier this morning or yesterday, perhaps, depending on how many records you go through in a day, because it does only show 10. So it might only be good for you in about an hour or two, perhaps, as things start to cycle through here, if you're a permit tech, for instance. So the recent records, so that's kind of handy. I actually find that I use this a lot now that Accela has added this. This is a newer feature as of last summer. Then we have 2 tabs. They don't necessarily look like tabs, but as you kind of hover your mouse over them, you can kind of see the outline of the tab. There is a Your Pages. That's what's demonstrated or showing right here. And then there's an All Pages. So I can toggle between these 2 tabs. In order to set your pages, your being the keyword, those are essentially favorited pages. I would go to the All Pages tab, and I would bubble in the star for the pages that I want to favorite and include over here on my Your Pages tab. I would encourage you to do this if you haven't done it already as a new user. These will be the pages that you'll use on the regular. The pages that you want to favorite are going to be the pages you'll use regularly. I can tell you right now the recommendation is for every single user in the system is to favorite the record list. That's where all of the existing record data lives. And by record, that's equivalent to permit. So if that terminology is throwing you off a little bit, just note that record is synonymous to permit. The reason it's not called permit is because in planning, planning applications don't get called permits. They're planning applications, they're planning records. Planning doesn't necessarily use the terminology of permit. Not that they never do. They might do sign code permits. They might do tree permits. They might do, there's a handful of kind of development type permits that some planning departments literally issue. However, that record terminology is a little bit higher level, a little bit more generic for the different modules that maybe don't necessarily call their work permits. Okay, there are the 3 modules in particular. Well, there are 4 modules. There's building, public works, planning, and on-site. And we are going to be focusing the entire training series training in the building module. However, if you were in planning, public works, code enforcement, or on-site, that does not negate this training because I'm only using the building module to train on the high-level functionality that is across modules. All right. I will be training on how to create a record. Obviously, we'll be training today on the home view and all the buttons and searching and all that good stuff. That'll be kind of our getting started foundation. And then in next Tuesday's meeting at 9:30, we will be creating a new application, and we'll be taking that application all the way through plan review. And then in the last session, 3 weeks from now, we will be taking the record from plan review. We'll be going over fees, payments, valuation calculator. That is building specific, but we'll only touch on that. We'll be going through issuance, inspections, how to schedule inspection, how to find inspections, how to manage inspections and track them, And then finally, we'll be going through just certificate of occupancy and final. I mean, so essentially how to close a record, how to final a record. And as I move through all three training parts, I will be making regular references to public works and planning where there are any differences or things like that. So I will be talking about those other modules as well. However, this core training is that functionality that is in all the modules. Okay? All right. So again, I would suggest you favorite the record list. That's where all the record data lives. If you are a person that will be working in more than one module, what I mean by that is if you are a planner or you are a public works person or even an on-site person, if you are going to be working in those modules, but also working in the building module, and in that case, specifically planners and public works folks, you often also do plan review on building applications in the building module. So you might participate in the building process and also participate in your separate planning or public works process. And in that case, you'll be working in more than one module. And you will need this preference management page. So if you will be working outside of one module at all, you will need the preference management page. That preference management page allows you to toggle your user between modules. So either your primary module is building for the moment, you go do some building tasks, and then you use preference management to toggle your user to make your primary module the public works module, and then you go and do your public works work. This preference management allows you to do that toggling, that switching between modules as your primary module. So a note on that, and then I'm going to scroll back up here to the top. I highly recommend that every user favorites these 4 pages. First of all, we have the property data, your addresses for your agency, the parcels for your agency, and really the owners. I know this is a people, but we call this APO. If you hear us use that acronym, it's your address parcel owner data, otherwise known as your property data for your agency. The property data for your agency is acquired either through your GIS folks or through the tax assessor in the county that your city resides in, or through some other maybe third-party contractor or what have you. Your cities and counties put together APO data for us, they send it to us, and then we upload it to the software for you. We do not manage anybody's property data. E-permitting does not have a role in managing your day-to-day property data. So if address A is a house and it sells, so the owner is changing because it went up for sale and it sold from Jim to Bob, we don't manage the owner changes at e-permitting. Sales of property, sales of homes, splitting parcels, changing addresses, all that goes with managing property data is actually managed at your local agency. We only load the data for you, and then we load updates as often as your agency send them to us. And it's just an important thing to kind of know, to have that context about how the property data is managed, because we get a lot of help desk tickets from cities and counties on a daily basis saying, hey, this address is wrong in the system. Can e-permitting please update that? And in fact, we don't manage your property data. We would let you know that you would be responsible for updating an address, a parcel, or an owner, or working with a contact at your agency to send us a large upload or update. Now, most agencies, for those of you who are new employees, your agencies already have an established process, or even for my seasoned users that are on this training today, there's already an established process for updating your APO. So property data, all we do is load that for you. So most of the agencies send us updates like weekly. We have a few agencies send us updates like in some sort of automated process like nightly. So nightly, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and then we have a small number of agencies that don't send us updates at all, and they 100% manually manage their property data in Accela, hands-on. Um, so just an important note on that, and then kind of just to come full circle here again, APO, that's your addresses, your parcels, your owners. So favoriting those pages is, any user, no matter what you do in the system, is likely going to need address, parcel, owner information or access to that. And then lastly here in this kind of section right here is favoriting the licensed professionals. So licensed professionals, aka contractors. A lot of people ask us, why don't you just call it contractors? It's just contractors, call it that. Well, we don't call it that because there are a lot of other licensed professional data in the licensed professionals that aren't contractors, and that includes architects and engineers. So we load e-permitting. Every single night. We load updates to all of the CCB licenses, Contractors Board, and all the BCD specialty licenses for electrical and plumbing. Every night, we will update the licensed professional data for all 80 plus participating agencies to keep the licensed professional data current to the day. And then about every other month, we load architects, engineers, landscape contractors, all of the on-site like pumper trucks and those kind of folks. And then I'm trying to think what else is out there. There's all kinds of different license types that we load professional data for about every other month. As often as the licensing bodies send us updated information, then we load it to the system for all participating agencies. So licensed professionals is another very important page to favorite. And I apologize if you guys can hear my puppy barking in the background. We work remotely. I'm using my headset. Hopefully it's a little bit more noise canceling, but I apologize if you can kind of hear that a little bit in the background. Other pages are going to be potentially favoriting a report page. Depends on if you're somebody that ever has to look at reports or run reports. These report pages aren't named. I know that seems kooky. They really are named. But this is a bug in the Accela software that Accela is working on fixing. Report 1 is building reports. Report 2 is financial reports. Report 3, I believe, is planning, or these are either planning or public works, but we can look at those briefly in a future training. We'll be looking at those. But the names on these don't show up because of a bug in the software right now. And like I mentioned, Accela is working heavily on trying to get that figured out, why the label won't show. But in the meantime, you're going to have to learn what these report pages are simply by the numbered page name. Again, building reports, financial reports, I believe this is planning, and public works. And there's also report 5, by the way, which is on-site. So I don't have it favorited because the city of Astoria doesn't have the on-site module. And because they don't have the on-site module, they don't have report 5 available. So just a note on that, some of your agencies, if they do on-site, if you're with a county that does on-site, because cities don't do on-site, which is septic, by the way. If your county agency does on-site, uses our on-site module, then you will see a report 5 available here. So that might be of interest to you. Now, in the training, I've just favorited all of the report pages because at one point we'll be touching on a variety of things that might be involved in these report pages. I also, you can see it's bubbled in, but it's grayed out. There's a My Task page. Notice it says deselect the home icon or select a different home page to remove this page from my pages list. What that means is, I'll flip back over here to your pages. The My Task page, I have made it my custom home page. That little house icon is bubbled in. You can select your custom homepage simply by bubbling in the house icon. So if I want it to be the record list, I will change it to the record list. If I want it to be a report page, that might be kind of kooky, but then I can make it a report page and so on. What this means is that when you log in and out of the system, I'm just going to log right back in. It will automatically log you in at home view to whatever page you set as your custom home landing page. So in this case, if you recall, I switched it from my task to the record list. So when I log in, it automatically opens the record list for me as my default home landing page. So just so you know, whichever house icon you bubble in will be your custom home page. A lot of folks say, okay, I'm a new user. What do you recommend? For new users, I recommend that you make the record list your home page. For folks that are, I don't know, I'm kind of torn between the record list and my task. My task is kind of a key page. This page is your daily to-do list. So first thing in the morning, you log in. You should look at your My Task page, various filters and things that we'll talk about here in the course of this training today. And you will be able to determine essentially your to-do list. Whether you're a permit tech, an inspector, or a plans examiner, the My Task page is integral to monitoring your day-to-day to-do list. Inspections you've been assigned, plan reviews you've been assigned, or as a permit tech, potentially tasks you've been assigned across different parts of the software. So I kind of flip-flop between which one should be my home page. For me personally, I use the My Task page as my home page. But I see that a lot of our users set the record list as their home page. So either or, this is really a personal preference. But as I train about the My Task page, you might change your mind from the record list to My Tasks. All right, so Launchpad, we talked about creating new record. We talked about the recent record list. We talked about how to set your favorites in the Your Pages tab and how to do that. And then, if you change your mind or you want a different page on there, what have you, then you would just bubble in the star. Notice I did not favorite the inspections page, and I'll tell you why briefly, and then we'll cover a little more depth here momentarily. Inspections is included in the My Task page. So in the My Tasks page, notice there is an Inspections tab. The Inspections tab is essentially, it's the Inspections page. It's just a tab that directly links you to the Inspections page inside the My Task page. So I don't have to also favorite the Inspections page in order to manage inspections, schedule inspections, track inspections, print the daily list, give the inspectors their assignments, what have you, whatever your task assignments, your job responsibilities might be. I don't have to separately favorite the inspections page because it is wrapped into and included inside of the My Task page. It's the exact same page. I have had a few people ask me that. They're like, well, doesn't the inspections page, like as a standalone page, have its own, does it look different? It doesn't. It's the exact same information, exact same buttons and page and functionality as the Inspections tab. It's all right here. Okay, so just a note on that, because I do get asked about that, is, for those folks that are inspectors, they're like, wait, why wouldn't you favorite inspections? You certainly can, but just as I start to kind of talk about and train on how important it is to use the My Task page, you might find that you don't need to also favorite inspections. Some agencies that do a lot of point of sale transactions, which is like just direct cashiering, this kind of a cashiering module, where you don't have to have a record in order to assess and collect a fee. So some of the agencies, for instance, City of Lebanon, they do extensive point of sale work because the building staff are also responsible to receipt cash payments for other parts of the city. So they receipt like jury payments, they receipt parking stuff, they receipt parks reservation fees, they receipt all kinds of things that have nothing to do with building, planning, or public works. They just are like the cashier for a lot of things at their city incidentally. And this point of sale page or module allows you to just do that basic cashiering without the necessity of having a record or a permit. So just a side note on that. Sets we don't train on in the Accela 101, but just a quick note on it. So, because you see all these page names, you wonder what the heck these are, right? The sets is a way to kind of informally group records together that might be related to the same project or the same contractor, or whatever commonality they might have, so that you can apply one action to the group kind of all at once. It's kind of like one action against multiple records, like a one-to-many kind of thing. And you might ask, well, what are you talking about? The big one is payments. So I can informally group together a structural record, electrical, mechanical, plumbing record that are all about the same project, the same house, the same address, and the contractor wants to write one check or make one credit card payment. And the way in order to accommodate that is you create a set of all of the records that that contractor wants to pay, and then in the set you apply a single payment. The payment will post to all of the records included in the set where there were outstanding fees. It's a very, very helpful tool, or functionality, more to speak, allowing you to kind of, saving you a lot of time, right? Otherwise, you might have to go in and post 4 or 5 payments. And in the world of financial audit, which is my expertise on the team, as I'm kind of the financial person on our team, is that it is not fiscally auditable or appropriate to take one check and apply it in pieces. I know that sounds kind of kooky, right? Really, the best way, the most audit-worthy way to apply a check is to apply it to one record in whole as the check is written, and then transfer pieces of that money to the other 3 or 4 records. Well, that's super time-consuming. Who wants to deal with that? Sets is the way to do one payment against multiple records. That's the primary use of sets. That's not the only use of sets. We also use sets for expiration, the expiration process that we offer in Accela, and a couple of other things. So just kind of a heads up on that. A lot of folks also ask me, Kelly, why wouldn't I favorite building permit? This is actually not a page that we use. It is not all-inclusive. The record list is inclusive across modules. The building permit page is limited to just buildings. So it would greatly hamper your ability to do work across modules or to search for things across modules. That's why we don't use that page. There's also Communication Manager and Alert page. And Bulletin Board we absolutely don't use in Oregon e-permitting, so just a note on that. That one's completely out. Communication Manager we do use. However, using it at the high level, at this page level, is not terribly easy. It's better to use communications within the actual record. So just a note on that. And then alerts. Alerts are Accela's way of letting you know that there has been online activity. Forgive me, sip of water there. And by online activity, I mean that somebody has gone to the e-permitting webpage and they've applied for something, and applied and issued, or they've just applied. For instance, you can only apply in structural because it requires plan review, but you can apply and get an issued permit, for instance, for mechanical, for basic residential mechanical. But you'll get alerts of those things as an agency, as a permit tech primarily, usually responsible for the alerts for an agency, telling you that those activities took place and bringing your attention to them so you know to go look at those records, check them over, whatever your process, your desktop process might be. And then you also get alerts for online payments. So if somebody has gone online and made a payment on any record, you will get an alert. And then you get alerts for any documents being uploaded. So if a customer goes to the e-permitting website, locates their application or permit online, they can upload documents to their record, and you will get an alert that documents have been uploaded. So alerts are exclusively about online activity, because how else would you know? There's no bell going off in the background every time somebody applies or something funny like that, right? So alerts is consistently your way to manage things that are coming in online. All right. Just wanted to give you kind of some context about what the different pages are. All right. Any questions so far in terms of kind of where we're at in setting up the Launchpad for your day-to-day use? No? Oh, I did forget one thing. This small little print right here. Notice it says click and drag to reorder. Notice I have my things in a real specific order. I'm kind of an organization freak that way. I like my record list and my tasks at the very top left. I like my address parcel owner pages to be, and licensed professionals to be grouped together. And I like my report pages to be grouped together. When you're first favoriting pages, they don't come in like this. Trust me, they're kind of all wonky all over the place. And so you can drag pages to reorder. Notice as soon as I move preference management up, though, all the report pages rejiggered. Report 3 got bumped, licensed professionals got bumped, and so on. You got to just kind of play with it. There's not a ton of logic, I don't think. I think it might like kind of swim like left to right, top to bottom. However, you just kind of have to move things around to get them. See how it just kind of started moving pages. So you're just going to have to drag and drop kind of, a couple of times probably to get things into whatever order you prefer. I'm going to kind of just tell you why I put them in this order in particular. So these pages over here, APO and licensed professionals, these are reference pages. By reference, they are essentially, think about it like a library. And you put books into a library. Or think about it even like a file cabinet. To some small extent, this kind of looks like a 5-drawer file cabinet. And these are the drawers, the top drawer, the middle drawers, and so on. You can think about it either way. Whatever helps you remember what reference data is. This is a very important part of our training today. Reference data is information that we load for you that all of the records you create make reference to. So we load the addresses, the parcels, and the owners for you that your agency provides us through a data process. We load all the licensed professionals for you on nightly for the CCB, BCD professional, electrical, plumbing, and then about every other month for all the other license types that we provide. And so in these reference tables, we're kind of, or drawers maybe, we're putting in files. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it like a file cabinet. In the address drawer, we're putting in file folders of addresses. Every address that exists in your jurisdiction, and then even new addresses that get added to your jurisdiction when new construction happens or things get addressed or whatever. We are constantly managing that file drawer with information files. Same for parcels. All the parcels that exist in your jurisdiction, in your urban growth boundary or what have you, we are maintaining or loading all of that, all of the parcel files in the parcel file drawer for you. And owners and licensed professionals, kind of the same analogy. And so when you create a new record, a new application or permit, you are telling, when you create the new record, which we'll be doing next Tuesday, you will associate an address. You'll kind of associate one of the files out of this drawer to this application. You'll associate one of the parcel files out of this drawer, so to speak, to the application. The owner of that parcel you'll associate to that application. Once you pull the APO into a single application, it's no longer reference data because it's not living over here anymore. It's transactional. It lives inside that single record. It is frozen in time on that record up and until you change it or update it. Even if the reference data is updating, once you bring reference data into, associate it to an application or permit, it does not maintain the same updates as happening over here in reference. You have to tell it if you want it to update again, or you have to manually update it. Once it's brought into a record, it's transactional. And you might wonder, well, why the heck doesn't it maintain kind of that update type relationship to the reference data? And the reason that is that's not really the way that things like that work. I don't mean technically either. I mean in the building or development process. When somebody pulled a permit last year and the address was 123 Main Street, when they pulled the permit, maybe to do like say a residential addition, to add a bedroom or something to their house, that was the address. And that house sat on a corner lot, let's say. And a couple years go by, and for whatever reason, that house is going to be readdressed because it's a corner lot and the front door opens to actually a different street than Main Street. So that house gets readdressed. And you would not go back and change the address historically on permits that were pulled in years prior. When those permits were pulled last year, that house was addressed 123 Main Street. That was the correct address at that point in time. Only now has that house been readdressed, so any future permits today forward might have a different address for that same house. That's kind of the way things work in the development process. Parcels get split, things sell, right? So the owner, when they pulled that permit last year, was Kelly. Kelly was the owner. Well, the house sold a few months later, and now the new owners are pulling a permit today to do a bedroom addition. Well, the owner still isn't Kelly, the owner's Krista. You wouldn't really, it's not really practical that you would update automatically transactional data in existing records, even though that information might be being updated over here in the reference filing cabinet, right? Houses sell, owners are changing all the time, Businesses sell, houses sell, buildings sell. Addresses potentially change sometimes. Parcels get split or merged. There's all kinds of things happen in the world of property data. It's kind of its own big bailiwick of information and stuff. It's actually fairly complex. I've learned that over the years, working with GIS and a lot of folks, during their address data. There's a lot of information that happens here. And so your agencies, not you personally, your agencies, whoever your contact is for your APO data updates, will send us some sort of regular updates. And we'll apply those updates here to the reference data. But these reference data updates are not going to go back into the record, the existing records, and go back in time and update addresses or owners or whatever, because that wouldn't really be appropriate. That person didn't own it 5 years ago. They only started owning it today. So you get the idea. Yes. Mm-hmm.
We have a question.
Sure. I noticed not all the pages are on my Accela, such as set to communication manager. I don't know. S. Beeler. That's an excellent question. Excellent question. That is defined, and I'm so glad you asked. That is what pages are available to you is defined by your user group. So it could be that your user group does not include permissions for things like sets or communication manager. If you find that you need access to those kinds of things, or that your day-to-day job assignments include, for instance, if you cashier money or payments at all, you need sets. I mean, I can tell you that right now. So if in your job responsibilities, one of your assignments is that you will cashier payments on permits or records, we probably need to upgrade your user group so that you have access to sets, because you'll need those for payment management. So you said, can agencies choose which are accessible to their staff? Choose only in the nature that your agency decides what user group they want to put you in. And the user group is defined by how much access and to what you need access to. I'm not sure what module you're in or what your actual job title is, but we can help maybe better assign you, or work with your agency to better assign you if your user group maybe isn't quite dialed in right. And I'm going to tell you right now, for new employees, that is a frequent issue. You know, the agency will kind of start low. They'll make you maybe a permit tech user group, and then they realize, oh heck, you know, we needed her or him to be able to cashier payments, and she doesn't have that with permit tech. Or he needed to be able to manage workflow, and he doesn't have that access or all the rights that he or she would need as just the permit tech user group. So then we have to change your user and maybe upgrade your user to super tech. I know that sounds kind of funny, but that's the name of the user group. And it has a higher level of permissions. It adds things like delete permissions and some other higher money type permissions and things like that. So hopefully I got your question answered. Krista, was that the only question that you were?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So hopefully I answered that. And S. Beeler, if you feel like you need your user group reviewed, don't hesitate to reach out. Tell me what your job title is and kind of what your assignments are. And I'll double check that your user group is correct, more or less. All right, Veronica. Veronica, why are there more pages in the filter pages toggle on the home screen than in the all pages? Oh my God, add these to your pages. I'm trying to figure out what exactly you're saying. Why are there more pages in the filter pages? Are you talking here, probably, Veronica? This list should be exactly filter for filter, line for line, exactly the same as the filters on each tab. You have to toggle tabs in the My Task page to see all of the filters. You have to go tab by tab. Oh, there's no filters for that one. So all of these filters, plus all of the workflow filters, plus all of the inspection filters should be equivalent, let me get back up here, to the filter list here. They're essentially the same list, and I'll get to that here shortly in the training, because we're going to talk about the difference between dashboard and My Tasks and what the pros and cons are accordingly. But the filter list here is all commingled together. So it's just one huge comprehensive list of all of the filters, no matter what kind of task they're about. Whereas in the My Task page, they are broken out into the specific tabs or into the specific assignment areas. So same filters, but they're a little bit more. I way prefer the My Task page. I'm not going to lie to you. I tell people don't use the dashboard, and we'll be talking about that. But I'll give you the pros and cons so you can make an informed decision for yourself on what your preference is. But they're, to me, much easier to. I see the list. These are inspection-related filters because I'm on the inspections tab. These are workflow-related filters because I'm on the workflow tab. When I'm in the dashboard, they're just all jammed together. And you kind of have to know what's what. You have to know that this is a workflow task filter. And you might not know enough yet, depending if you're a new user or not. You might not, one, know enough yet to even know that. And two, it still might not be super obvious to you, even if you're a seasoned user. I'm not a fan of this. So, but we'll talk about it for sure. So just touching on that question, and then I'll circle back around to you, Veronica, on that note. Okay. Alrighty. So closing my task page. All right, let's start talking about, well, we're there. You know what? We're there. Let's talk about, rather than the searching first, let's do the dashboard and my task page. We're talking about it. We just mentioned it. Let's just jump into that. We'll just kind of flip-flop the order of those. All right, so this top icon, when you first log into Accela, is called the dashboard view. One, you need to make sure you're paying close attention to this and to this. I know it's really tiny, but Accela does not do well at all of making the best use of the real estate on the screen. And what I mean by that is, see all this white space here and maybe a lot of white space down in here. They do this funny thing where they'll put like only 3 task cards wide, and there's like all this other space over here. Why don't they put more task cards? Why don't they make this row longer? Use the space. They're not really great at that. And I'm not sure if it's because they have to make Accela work in all different browser types and all different screen sizes potentially. But they're not really great at maximizing the use of the white space of the real estate. And the reason I mention that is this might say you have 10 tasks, and there'll be a little, in this font right here, it'll say see more. And it'll be real tiny, this exact size font. And so sometimes it's not super obvious that you have more task cards to see, that it hasn't fully loaded everything. So I'm going to suggest, I think that's con number 1, okay? The other thing is that when you first log in and you get to the dashboard view, this information is not accurate. Do not use it until you have applied a filter to it. Because when you very first log in, you might see, or what was I saying? Lost my train of thought for a second here. You might see a bunch of task cards that are for things that are done. And you'll be like, why am I seeing, for instance, inspections is a big one. If you're an inspector, you log in, you haven't applied a filter yet. It says you have 15 tasks, and you look at the task cards, and they're for inspections you did yesterday. They're done. Why would they be task to do, so to speak, to-do list task cards for something you already did? And that is because this information is not accurate up until you apply a filter to it. And we get help desk tickets on that on the regular. Hey, Kelly, you know, my task cards are showing all kinds of stuff, plan reviews I've already done. I don't want that. Can I delete them? No, you cannot delete them. You will actually delete them from the record. So big warning there. That is another con of the dashboard. Is that you could accidentally, thinking that you just want them off your dashboard list, go in and delete things, and you've actually deleted data from the records. Okay, so there's that small warning. But let's go ahead and apply a filter. One of the most common filters, particularly if you do plan review or if you're a permit tech that has to manage kind of the record process, is there is a filter called My Tasks, My Active Tasks, All Modules, or My Active Tasks Active, whichever. All modules would be great if you're a person that does work in more than one module. If I'm a public works tech, and I do public works, right-of-way permits and things like that in public works, but then I also do public works plan review on building records, then I work in more than one module. I should use this all modules filter. Notice as soon as I click that filter, those two things are gone because they weren't active. They were not active workflow tasks. In fact, I can't even remember what they were. Let me actually go back. I think one of them was a document. See, and I got to flip through the filters here. Just saying, to try to find a filter that might make sense. It's going to be probably one of the My filters because I want to look at the work that's assigned to me. Any filter preceded with a My is about things assigned to the logged in user, so assigned to Kelly. My active workflow tasks, my activities that are active, my department all activities, my inspections I've resulted. Anything preceded with the word my, I don't know what those were. I think one was a document. Let me get off the page here. There, they're back. If I have her over, Mill, tell me what they are. This is an activity. This is a document. You can see the dark black. These are essentially assignment to-dos that is an activity assignment, and this is a document assignment. This was assigned January 31st. This was due March 9th. So if I wanted to really actively see these in some sort of accurate framework, this I would look at my overdue activities because this is overdue. And that document, I don't even know if we have, I don't think we have a document filter, which is kind of interesting. I might have to think about that offline because you might need to get that document reminder back. This is plans. They were loaded on the 31st. It was assigned to this online plan submittal was assigned to me as a plans examiner, let's say. So a couple examples here. The importance of what you see is defined, not the importance of it, but it's important that you use a filter to define exactly what you need to see. And sometimes in the filter naming, it is not totally clear exactly what that filter is looking at. And also, particularly for newer people, and I mean newer as in like your whole first year on the system, you might not be familiar. Due date within a week. Due date of what? Due date of plan review? Due date of inspection? Due date of documents? Due date of what? I have no idea. And so if you don't have any context and you don't know the system well enough, these can be really difficult to maneuver in the dashboard view. Okay, so there's a couple of things there to consider. One pro of the dashboard view is you can look at things in the task card view. I'm circling the icon over here on the right, which is these kind of square looking task cards, or I could look at them in a list view. When you look at them in a list view, you lose some of the functionality. So there's that consideration. In the task card view, those are the same to-do assignments, but now I'm seeing them in the task card view. When they're in task card view, these three dots allow you to, there's some kind of actions you can do directly from the task card. So this is a document. I can download it, preview it, look at the information about it, or reassign it to someone other than myself. On this activity, I can delete the activity. See, there's that danger zone. Or I can jump into the record and go look at it. So on the task cards, you do have a little bit of helpful functionality up here in the upper right-hand corner. And for inspections, you get options like result the inspection, transfer the inspection, meaning reassign it from you to someone else or what have you. So this is kind of handy, not going to lie. So this is one of the pros of the dashboard view. I'm trying to think of what else here. So, and I can't sort these. I can't, like if I had a whole bunch of these, in fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go log in to a production agency. Maybe I'll go ahead and log into Astoria. I don't know how much activity they have, but I'm logging into Astoria Production. I don't have any task cards because I'm not an employee of City of Astoria. My tasks I had set up as my home page, so it immediately opened. I can look at different filters to look at different pieces of information I need to know. or things that are assigned to me. Any of the my filters are things that are assigned to me specifically. So this would drive maybe my daily work today by looking at certain things that are assigned to me. But let's look at the dashboard here. I don't have any task cards because this is Astoria's actual production environment. I don't actually work in Astoria. I don't do work there. I'm not going to have things assigned to me. But if I were to look at things that were today's inspections, there's the task cards. So paying attention to, you have 5 tasks, making sure that there are no more records, that there's not a see more, because it won't make it super obvious that there might be more things to look at. So that's another small con, is just kind of how it's laid out and organized. On these, as I hover over them, these are all inspections. Of course, I applied an inspection filter, and I have some of this. I can cancel it. I don't want to delete it. There's that little danger zone again. I can reschedule it, or I can result it. I can jump into the record and actually do some of the work, and so on. If there were more inspections, which I apologize, but I'm going to sign out, and I'm going to sign into an agency I know has huge volume, production agency. I'm going to go ahead and say today's inspections. Oops, I went too far. I think I went too far. I got a whole bunch of custom filters here. Oh, here we are. So they have 194 inspections scheduled today. Look at what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing 7 task cards. That's it. This is why I was telling you, it does this thing where it's like, where is the rest of the stuff? So you have 194, I'm going to refresh, but I'm only seeing 7. Way over here in the bottom corner is this little button, like winged way out here, to load more. And why didn't it put 3 more right here? So Accela does this really kooky setup. And so here, why didn't it put 1 more right there? There's 194 of these puppies to look at. Why didn't it put 1 more right here? So it just does this kind of strange. So put 1 here. Why not put 4 more? It's just silly, right? So here's the other kind of maybe potential con. We already talked about the fact that the number of task cards, the way it displays them, and the show more button way or load more way down here in the corner is really hard to find and remember sometimes. So you might not be seeing all the data. And when there's a lot of data like this, it is not practical to use the dashboard view to look at 194 inspections, right? I could certainly look at them in a list view. I still have to do load more. And by using the list view, I lose some of the functionality. I can't sort these by address. I noticed that this one, this one, this one, this one, they're all for the same address. This 4117 Northwest 39. But so is this one. But it's down here after these other 3. And then, oh, so is this one. So I can't sort the task cards by address, by assigned inspector, by inspection type, because inspections are often done by certification of the inspector. An inspector has to be certified to do commercial electrical different than residential electrical. They have to take, more tests, and they have to certify, and yada, yada. That's how inspectors become inspectors. They certify in certain areas, and they can only do inspections in the areas they're certified for. So you tend to sort inspections sometimes by the inspection type in order to know what inspector to assign them to by certification. So I can't do any of that in the dashboard view, but I can in the My Task page. So I'm going to stay in Deschutes production just because they have so many inspections. This is a great working example. I'm going to look at the My Task page now. Takes a few to load, by the way. Some people get a little panicky. It takes long to load because it is compiling a lot of data. It's compiling all the workflow data, inspection data, activity, and document data. So I'm going to go to the Inspections tab. because we were just looking at inspections, today's inspections. So here they are in my task view. I'm going to use the same filter. I think I looked at today's inspections all in the dashboard. Here I'm only getting 193. So there's an important little note. Over here was 194. Let me look. Maybe somebody just resulted something. I mean, they could be that quick about it. Where's today, tomorrow? Geez, they have a lot of custom filters in Deschutes County. Today's inspections all. Oh, it says 193. Okay, so somebody resulted one in the moments when we swapped pages. There was 194. So here I can sort things. I can sort by the address just by clicking the address header. So same filter. In the Inspections tab in the My Task page, I can sort by the inspector. I can sort by the address just by clicking the address. So now notice these 70351, I don't know how you pronounce that, street, whatever, at Black Butte Ranch there, they're all grouped together now. Sorry, I had to take a step. The reason that is so helpful is that you don't want to send two inspectors to the same address. That's a sincere waste of inspection trips and staff time. If one certified inspector can go do all of the inspections at a single address, that's your goal. And you can kind of see that Deschutes has done that. All the inspections at the 62280 address are assigned to Rainier. These two, Hosmer Lake to Brandon. There is huge benefit to sorting the information once you apply the filter. You cannot do that in the dashboard. I could sort by the inspection type. So all the 899 final fire inspections are these top two. We might want to sort by inspection type to decide who to assign. Anthony's the fire marshal, let's say. So the fire inspections always get assigned to Anthony. He's the fire marshal. Septic, so there's some on-site inspections here. Now, that has to be done by a sanitarian. That's a different kind of expertise and certification. So, there are different people might be assigned to those. So you get the idea here. The real benefit, the real con, and I think it's a significant pro to the My Task page is that once I apply the filter and I'm looking at all the same data as the task cards, I have double the functionality. I can sort things. I can see them much more easily. I don't have that whole more page garbage. But do notice here showing 1 of 20 of 193. So it's only showing me 20. I'd have to page through 10 pages to see all 194 or 3. But there's a menu button up here where I can expand the list. Anywhere there is a list page, what we call a list page, a list of information, a list of records, a list of inspections, a list of activities, a list of anything, there will be a menu button. And in that menu button, I can expand the list. So I can tell Accela, I want to see more than 20 per page. So it took me from 20 per page to 100 per page. So I only have to go through 2 pages to see all 193 inspections. I don't have to page through 10 pages. It's not practical. Nobody have time for that, right? So anywhere there's a list page, there will be a menu button, and anywhere there's a menu button, there's an expand and contrast function. The other thing is anywhere there is a list page, there will be a menu button. Anywhere there's a menu button, there will be an export option, CSV export. So I want to apply a filter to look at a certain bit of information. Maybe I want to look at today's inspections for Michael. He has 23 inspections, and I want to export that and hand it to him on a piece of paper. There it is. That's all of Michael's inspections. I could print this out and hand it to him on a piece of paper if I needed to, wanted to, whatever. I'm not suggesting that you necessarily do that because we have an inspector app. They don't really need anything on paper ever anymore. But just so you know, there is export functionality. Um, any list page going to have a menu button. Any menu button is going to offer you the export option. CSV is to Excel. Okay, I can contract my list again. Oops, I'm on Michael. Sorry, there's nothing to contract. Like resulted inspections. I mean, resulted inspections, depending on what this filter says, is going to be, I don't even know. I don't want to crash the database. I thought that might not have been a good move. Deschutes County doing 200 inspections a day. They've been on the system with us probably 10 years. Can you imagine the volume of resulted inspections? I might not have wanted to use that filter. I might want to just close that and get out of that right away. Open a new tab. I don't want to overwhelm the production database by trying to run some monster query. Oh, it took me back into Deschutes County, just reset me. Okay, so my task page again. Okay, so we're talking about the advantages, either the dashboard or the My Task page. So I can tell you that I have heard one person say that in the dashboard, they liked that they could see, I don't have anything assigned to me, but they liked that they could see, I think it was the project name. I'm just trying to find some things here to look at. Right here, this Edson, this 17726 wiki upline, this SRR unit 282, this is the project name on the record. And I don't think you can see that in the My Task page. So that might be a pro on the side of the dashboard view. Let's look at My Tasks. What was I looking at? I think I was looking at mechanical inspections completed in the last 7 days. Trying to switch tabs here. I hope it's not still trying to run that query. Oh gosh. Ah, eek. It might still be trying to run that query. Okay, so there's completeness. Let me see if I could get back into inspections. Yikes. It doesn't want me. It says there's greater than 1,000. I think it's still trying to run that one query. Sorry about that. Oh, there we are. Boom. Okay, result inspection. So yeah, a lot. 1,000 plus. And once you went to the 1,000th one, it's going to give you another 1,000 and another 1,000. There's probably tens of thousands of resulted inspections in Deschutes County because they're extremely high volume. I think I said this one, this filter, final mechanical. I said you could see the project name on the task cards in the dashboard view, and I do not believe that you don't see it here. Get all the way down to get the scroll bar. I don't think none of this is the project name. So I've had a few people say, oh, Kelly, you know what? One thing I really like about the dashboard view about the task cards is that I can see the project name, and sometimes that project name is really meaningful to me. I've only heard that once or twice. I think the benefits of the My Task page far outweigh that as being a fairly small piece of information that you can locate in a lot of other ways. So I don't really see that as a giant pro, but, again, you have to kind of develop a system that works best for you. The importance of using the My Task page or the dashboard is imperative. There are these 4 assignment areas in the software. Workflow is about plan review. Inspections is about actually doing, inspections in the field. Documents is electronic documents that have been submitted. that needs somebody to review them. And activities are it's a way to document administrative tasks and work that you've done on a record, sent emails, made phone calls. It's kind of the between work that you do when you're processing a permit or application in between the actual workflow. Workflow, we'll talk about this in the third session, but just so brand new people even know what the heck it even is workflow. Workflow is the life cycle of the record from beginning to end, whether from intake to final. Whatever beginning and end means, because in planning, beginning and end means something different than they mean in building, than they might mean in public works and so on. And workflow is those high-level tasks that are absolutely required in the life cycle of the record. Bring it in, do a plan review, issue it, do inspections, final it. That's workflow in a nutshell for building and public works. Workflow for planning is a completely different animal. Deem it complete, staff review, staff decision, potential hearing, and then some sort of final decision. So, a whole different kind of process, a whole different set of requirements. And so workflow is the life cycle of the record. And we see that in individual records. We actually see that kind of graphically represented. I'm jumping ahead a hair, but on the workflow tab, you see the workflow kind of graphically represented as those tasks. I did an intake. We had to do some plan reviews. We had to issue it. Now we're in inspection. And when we're done with inspection, we're going to either decide if it needs occupancy, and then we're going to final it. So workflow is this life cycle from beginning to end, from intake to closeout. Okay, just so you have some context when we're talking about that on the My Task page. Inspections are actually inspectors going out in the field and doing field inspections on open permits. And then we talked briefly about these two. But whether you use the My Task page or the dashboard, you need to use one or the other because they drive your workday. They are the to-do list, essentially, of what you need to do in the software every day. You come in, you log in as a permit tech, let's say. You log into the software, you go to the My Task page, you go to the Workflow Task tab, and you're going to want to look at things that are in, for instance, things that are in completeness. Because a permit tech is responsible for doing all the tasks that need to be done at completeness. They need to prep the plans, make sure they're collated, stamped, and approved. They need to get the fees ready on the record. They need to fill in the valuation calculator. These are all things that happen at completeness. So if I'm a permit tech, I need to use the My Task page, Workflow Tasks, use that filter to know what records I need to go in and do work on.
Hey, Kelly.
Yes.
We have a question. Is there a way to see completed plan reviews?
Yes. Oh, I saw, Krista, you said that other thing. Okay. When I tried to run that monster query. Completed plan reviews. I'm in Deschutes County. They have just a ton of custom filters. So let's go back to our Astoria. Back to maybe more of like a standard agency look and feel. Deschutes County's been on our system for a long, long time, and they're probably one of our highest volume users in the entire state. And so they have just a high number of, notice this list here in the workflow tasks in Astoria compared to the workflow filter list in Deschutes County. They have all these custom filters assigned to Ian, assigned to Jennifer. Obviously, these are custom. These are people that work directly in their agency. And we can create custom filters for any agency. So just a side note on that, if once you kind of get rock and rolling as a new person, you're like, gosh, I really need a filter that shows me this. Because I've been assigned to do that kind of work, and there's no filter that shows me that. So completed plan reviews was asked. No,
Can't see your screen now.
not by default,
Share.
but I could create one.
Oh, wait, now she can. Never mind.
Oh, okay. I've seen. Can't see your screen. Got that. Um, but I could create one. Who was that asking? Lee. Lee, what agency are you with? Maybe if you could let us know, or Chris, if you could jot down Lee's name, we can, oh, Lake Oswego, okay. So we can reach out to Lee and we can look at putting together a custom completed plan review filter based on whatever the criteria are that you need. We need to know what module. How far back do you really want to look? Because you don't want to do what I did and, look for information back to the beginning of time. That's not really practical. If you want to look back like 90 days or something like that. So we can customize a completed plan review filter for you, for your whole agency. We can make it available to all Lake Oswego.
Have that as a note.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll reach out to Lee and we can look at that. The filters that you see depend on what your preferred module is. So let's talk about that briefly. The My Task page and dashboard, just so you know, they both key off of your primary module. And your primary module is defined in this preference management page. If you remember me mentioning that when we were talking about favoriting that page, that it's very important that you favorite that page. So for me, Kelly Marshall user, in the city of Astoria, my default module currently is set to building. So when I look at the My Task page, it is going to show me building module data, unless the filter is set, like this one, all modules, unless the filter is set to show things, kind of in a broader net. But otherwise, all these other default filters are specifically only looking at building because my preferred module is set to building. The dashboard is only going to look at my building kind of assignments, building tasks, building inspections, building workflow. So you use the preference management page to toggle. If you have been granted, that's the other thing, if you've been granted access in the other modules, you use the preference management page to toggle your primary module. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to close. When you change your preference, you have to close all the pages you have open. And you need to open a fresh copy of those pages to see your preference change be reflected. Notice the filters now on the inspection tab are about public works. There's nothing scheduled, but you get the idea here. So now the My Task page is looking at things oriented to public works because I toggled my module, my primary module or my default module to be public works. I am a user that has access to all the modules in Astoria. I do work in building, I do some work in public works, and I do some work in planning. So it is important, in fact, it's imperative that you understand that you will not see all your assigned stuff or all of the data that you might be responsible for tracking or managing unless you toggle your preference. So you might have to put your preference on building as your default module, go into My Tasks, and look at what you have assigned there and what kind of work in the building module you're responsible for, say, perhaps as a permit tech to process. Might not be directly assigned to you, but it might be your responsibility. You're responsible typically as a permit tech to make sure that the permit process is continuously moving. Plan reviews are getting done. It's getting issued. Fees are being collected, and so on. Those are the responsibilities of 99% of permit techs, right? And so, or front counter type folks, that kind of thing. And so that information for building would be if you had set your preference to building. However, if I'm also responsible to do permit processing for public works, I'm going to have to go toggle my preference, close the My Task page, reopen it, and at look at it, maybe in workflow here, and look at the completeness for public works. I have to do these 5 too. So if I'm the permit tech and I'm responsible to do completeness, permit processing in building and in public works, I'm going to have to toggle my preference and then do my work in public works on these 5 records, close My Task, toggle my preference to building, save that, close preference, and open My Task again, and then do my work also on completeness in building. On these records. Okay? Very, very important. Unfortunately, Accela didn't put a module toggle on the My Task page or on the dashboard. And so you have to manually toggle using the preference management page. We have requested this in an idea from Accela. Why there's not a module toggle just built into the page to allow me to toggle is a mystery. Because if I were to go to the main page, which is the record list, Accela offers a module toggle. I don't have to worry about preference management in the record list. So it's kooky that they did not provide a module toggle on My Tasks or on the dashboard. Or on the inspections page. Let's say you don't use the My Task page and you want to use just the inspections page. There's also not a module toggle here. I mean, they just didn't put it on there. And I don't know why. We've asked for that. So until they do, on My Task and any of the other list pages, dashboard, you are going to have to rely on your preference management toggle in order to see assignments in other modules or across modules. Okay? I wish it wasn't that way. I'm pretty vocal about that, because we're using a software just like you guys. We're the e-permitting building codes employees. We administrate a software that the state chose for permitting. It is the leading national or even international standard for government, record keeping, more or less, government business. It's the industry leader. Accela is at the top of the list. There are other softwares, that are on the list that, have other little bells and whistles that maybe Accela doesn't, but maybe they don't do other things that Accela does, and so on, right? It's just like using Microsoft Office, or if you guys remember, if you guys are as old as me, using WordPerfect or, whatever. There are different choices of softwares. This is a really, really good product, though. There are things that are kind of, wish we had a module toggle. Why do they make it all that extra work of having to use preference management? Put the module toggle on, just like you did on the record list. Put it on the other pages. Make life simple for those of us, that kind of thing. And there are other little, idiosyncrasies and little goofy things like why aren't the report page names showing up? There, like any software, there are little things like that, little bugs, little issues. And we use this Accela software, we use it to the maximum potential. We really push the boundaries of this software. And so, there are going to be, little things that are going to go on that aren't perfect. We're users just like you. We're supporting 80+ agencies doing configuration, helping you problem solve things, tickets, money, inspections, missing records, all the things that come up every single day. And there are definitely things about probably things that frustrate you that would frustrate us as well, So I just want to let you know that, we really do our best. We are one single customer of a giant software. It's like asking Microsoft that you want, your picture on the software. Never going to happen, So, sometimes requests, we can, as a large state, we have more voting power and things like that with the software, and we have a direct connection with some of their development and those kinds of folks. I mean, we definitely have a great relationship, but we don't get everything we ask for, that's for sure. There's a lot of people using the software internationally. So, we're kind of just part of a larger group. So sure, some people are like, do you like software? And I'm like, yeah, I've worked on one of Accela's biggest competitors, a software called Amanda by CSDC. That's what I administrated at the City of Salem. And it was a great software too, but there's a lot of things it didn't do that Accela does. And there's a lot of things that Accela, that it did that Accela doesn't, So it's all kind of, in the frame of reference of what kind of work you're doing. But coming back around to this, making sure that you're very familiar with the need for the preference management page in order to see everything you need to see that's been assigned to you, if you are responsible for work in more than one module. Okay, so I think we've talked pretty extensively about the benefits, the pros and cons of the dashboard task card view, separate from the My Task page. All the same filters are in the filter page dropdown as are provided to you in the filter dropdowns collectively across all 4 tabs in the My Task page. The filters you see differ depending on your preference. So if I'm set to Public Works preference, the filters are going to be Public Works filters, and they might be fewer filters, or there might be more filters than in building. It just kind of depends. The filters will be different, however, if I'm set to Public Works versus planning versus building. So if I'm toggling my preference, I have to close all of the pages because you have to open a fresh copy of the page for it to pick up your preference change, for it to kind of see your change. And then it will show you different filters and different data and so on. I don't see anything here. Let me go to Mist. There, back to building. I noticed it was still showing Public Works records because I hadn't refreshed my filter. Because I toggled, remember? And again, big advantage to be able to sort. All you do is click the column header. A lot of people don't know these are clickable. It's not super obvious till you maybe just, oops, mouse over it and you get the little finger, to click it. And then once you have sorted, it'll show you an ascending or descending arrowhead to say how you have it sorted. And you can sort any of the columns. If you sort like request comment, it's going to put all the records that have a request comment versus the records that maybe don't have a request comment. And then I don't know what other funky order maybe it's put on it here. Names, numbers, due date, the date it's scheduled for, due dates like on the workflow filter or workflow filters. Let me look at maybe unassigned building reviews. I don't know if there'll be any. This is Astoria. Okay, there's some. Workflow has due dates, assigned date, and then way over here, due date. So you probably want to do plan reviews in date order. So you want to sort this list by oldest to newest. This January one should probably be done first versus the March one. This is just a test environment, right? So, doing things in date order has bearing on, how you should manage work and things like that. So having the ability to sort and group in the My Task page is really powerful. I just can't speak about it enough.
Kelly, this is Ed Marchand.
Hi, Ed.
Hey, so on that page on My Task that you're at, you moved the screen over to the far left to see the columns on the far left. How did you do that?
This is another thing Accela is famous for. You have to, Ed, take the right-hand scroll bar and get all the way to the bottom to see the bottom scroll bar.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, and it's really goofy. Sometimes it does it like a page within a page. I mean, I won't lie, it's something that annoys us. Like here, so Deschutes County has so many in this list. Notice I have 2 scroll bars. So if I scroll down to this one, I still don't have a bottom scroll bar, even though let me get this out of the way, even though I'm at the bottom of the inner scroll bar, because the outer scroll bar is still not scrolled down all the way. So I have to scroll down the outer bar to get the bottom. So note to self, if Accela's got window in window or a right-hand scroll, you don't see the bottom scroll bar, it's because you have to get all the way to the bottom. It should orient the scroll bar up to the bottom of the last row of data, and they do not do that. So
Next question, is there a way of printing this screen with all of the columns?
yes. So remember when I said that any list page, like this is a list of data, has a menu button. Where there's any menu button, I have a CSV export. So I can export this data to Excel and print this. And you have a lot of print controls in it in Excel. You can make it fit to page. You can use legal or tabloid size paper. I assume your printers, all printers have legal and tabloid. Tabloid's 11 by 17. You can make it fit to page. You can insert your page breaks and what have you to make sure that you get all the columns. You probably have to maybe select like a comment column. Like some of these have really long comments. Look at that, clear out there. You might want to sort columns like this and tell them to wrap so that you don't have such a crazy long kooky column like that, right? You want the information in there to wrap and so on.
Thank you so
yes,
much.
Export it to Excel. Then you have a lot of different controls in Excel where you can print it. You bet. Are there any other questions before we go to break? We're going to break. I know we go to noon. It's already 11:15, but I'm going to give people about 5 minutes or so, myself included. Take a big glass of water for me. And then we will come back and we're going to finish up by doing the searching, all the tips and tricks, especially with this global search. It's finicky. Astoria. I was looking at Lake Oswego for Lee. Just a side note that in Lake Oswego, the request was for completed plan reviews. I'll talk to you, Lee, after the meeting about what kind of time frame, what review, if it's a specific kind of review, building review versus planning or infrastructure, or what have you. I'll talk to you after the meeting about that. But I want to let you know that make sure and check your agency. A lot of agencies already have custom filters that I've created along the way, or any of my teammates have created. And in Lake Oswego, we call it LACO, we have created these custom filters already. I remember creating all of these. So for building public works, not planning, and so on. So there's some active assigned planning review. These are custom filters. And then there are a handful of other custom filters that were requested when I implemented Lake Oswego that were created, unassigned fire reviews being one of them. And so there's a couple of things in here that are already custom. So just wanted to mention for all of you that when you're looking at the My Task page, your agency may already have some custom filters that are a few things more specific than what we're looking at in Astoria. So I just want you to kind of know that you know, we may have already worked with your agency over the years to add some custom filters. It doesn't mean that everything you need is there. We can add more. I do want to let you know, I need to get out of Lake Oswego production. For those of you who are a little bit more technically oriented, if you wanted to venture out, I would highly suggest you do this in staging first, maybe. But under the menu button, in the workflow task, you know, or inspections, what have you, whatever kind of filter it is that you feel like you need, is you go to the menu button, you go to My Filters, and you can create a new custom filter. You click New, and you start to build the filter. You have to look at the list. These are the available fields, depending on the tab that you're on. So remember, I was on the Workflow tab when I went in here to My Filters, and new to create a filter. And so the data or the details I'm seeing here are about workflow. And so on that note, that's what that's what's available to you here as you're creating a filter. And you have to have a little bit of knowledge about kind of how databases work. Not a lot. It will do what's called the SQL scripting for you as you make selections. So I would say assign date is greater than or equal to today. This is how you would have to do this. I'm not trying to train anybody on doing scripting, but that's how I'd have to set that up. What I would suggest is no, everybody doesn't have to become an expert at creating filters or what have you. I just want you to know, for those of you who are kind of more curious and more technically kind of apt, is you do have the ability to create some custom filters yourself. The key, I would say, to learning how to do this, if you're interested, and this is why I'm mentioning this simply as an aside, is open some of the existing filters and look at how they're built. Look at what we had to do to set it up. So I can't remember what this filter was for, but the module is equal to $module means whatever module that you're in, that you're preferenced to. The task equals the building review. The record status does not equal, that's what this means, does not equal closed, deferred, complete, deferred, withdrawn, expired, final. You want to not include all of these closed statuses if you're trying to look at something that's active and so on. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep into that, but I do want to let you know that if you are a little bit more technically apt and you're curious about wanting to do some of that, you do have the ability to create your own custom filter. Now, when you create that filter, it's only going to be available to just you. So if I'm a user, I'm Kelly, I go into my list, workflow tasks, menu, my filters, hit new, create a new filter. It will only be available to just me then in the list. It will not be available to my teammates or to anybody else in my agency. At that point, if you want us to publish your custom filter, you'll turn in a help desk ticket, and we will take that filter from being available to just you. We'll publish it for your whole agency, and then it will be available for all of your teammates. So just saying, for those of you who are kind of have a knack for stuff like that, go for it. Look at the filters that are already created and how they're set up, and to kind of gain some context and take a look at that if you're interested. Anyway, so enough about that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about searching for the last piece of our training today. So global search, let's talk about that. I got to make sure, just checking my bearings, making sure I'm in the right agency. I have to get in here and just steal an address, 1154 commercial. Okay. I'm not familiar with Astoria addresses, so I'm going to put in here, actually I'll just steal a record number off one of these records. Ugh, I hate that Accela does that now. I just did a Control-C, just so you know. I used a keyboard shortcut for copying, Control-C, the keyboard shortcut for pasting, Control-V. In the new browsers, in the new version, Krista, please add to this if I don't say it right. There is a right-click menu, oftentimes for copying and pasting. Is it, Krista, that it doesn't work in the new version?
Work because of Silverlight not being available.
Okay. So we are upgrading June 20th to just upgrading the version of Accela. There'll be a new version for every participating agency. And when that happens, Accela will now be fully compatible with Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome browsers and Firefox and a couple other things. No more Internet Explorer will be required as of June 20th. Internet Explorer is no longer a Microsoft supported browser product, and it is at very end of life with Microsoft, so Accela had to get off that. So in moving into the new browsers and some changes, including some other supporting parts of the browser software and stuff. Anyway, not to get too technical, but these right-click menus go away. So I highly recommend you learn the keyboard shortcuts for copying and pasting. Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste, because you will likely not have this option anymore. Okay? So I did Control-C to copy that record number simply so I could use it in a global search. So somebody says, okay, Kelly, I have a problem with record ABC. I'll tell you what I do. I immediately go to the global search, I paste that number in, and I search for it. 0 results. I saw that record in the list. Sorry, trying to see if I got extra spaces, or I'm going to take the str off the back of it, see what I get. I'm still getting 0. Krista, wasn't I having problems with this last time I trained? Did you have problems with this?
I don't know if it was.
I have noticed that it doesn't like
it being pasted in for some reason.
It doesn't like it being pasted. Yeah, I have noticed that. But I mean, like, I know that's a record number. It's right here.
Just as it happens to her too.
Okay. What in the heck? I'm literally looking at that record. Boom, right there.
Weird.
Very weird.
Versus an index, maybe?
Yeah, right, because Astoria staging. I'm just trying a couple record numbers, folks. Just bear with me here real quick. And it's not finding nothing. Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump into production. I'm in Lake Oswego. I mean, I can train on this anywhere. So I just need to go to the record list. I need to cheat. I don't know Lake Oswego addresses by heart, or numbers, excuse me. So I'm going to grab this record number just so we can kind of start our conversation. Global search, paste in a record number, and it will return the record for me. So I want to show you in global search what I get returned. Global search, just as it says, it is searching the database globally, which means it is searching all parts of the database, not only existing records, but it's also searching all of the reference data. Remember what that is. That's that filing cabinet, so to speak, of address, parcel, owner, licensed professionals. And it's searching a couple of other little pieces of the database. And I can see that in this kind of blue tabbed line here. So it found one matching record to that, forgive me, to that number I searched for. It found no matching addresses, because this is effectively not an address, right? It found no matching licensed professionals, because this is really not a licensed professional name or license number. It did find 3 documents. Now you might go, what? What do you mean? You put a record number in. Well, these are the documents that are attached to that record. And I can see that because the record association to these documents is the record number I searched for. So that's handy. We don't use assets at all, so boop, boop, cross that out. There are no contacts, meaning people. There are no people names that match that, and there are no parcel or tax lot numbers that match that search criteria. So it is searching beyond just the existing records. It's also looking at the reference data. This is the A, or the address. The P, parcels. Owners are inside the people or contacts. Licensed professionals, and it's even searching documents. Pretty cool. So now let's search a search term of just something super generic. 1, 2, 3. Because I remember I just got off the phone with the guy, and he said the address was like 123 A Street or Ad Street. I didn't catch what he said, and I didn't write it down. So if you knew the 123 is absolutely correct, off you go. There are 153 records that have some sort of reference to 123. 123 Doesn't mean it's in the record number, I have to tell you. So 123 on this second record is not in the record number, it's the address. 123 here in the record number, not one, I don't see 123. I don't see it here in the address as listed, but I can tell you that 123 is on this record somewhere. Not in the record number, but it is in the address. And I mean, you need to look like in the details, like here, this is suite 123. Not only is it in the record number 123, but it's also in the address and the suite number. So all kinds, and then look, I got pages because there are 298 or 153 records with a total across everything here, across the entire database, there are 298 matches. So it'd be the total of this number plus this number plus this number and this number and blah, blah, blah. So in the existing records, there are 153 matches, and I'd have to page through those to start looking at it all, and so on and so on. So a 123 search, if I was looking for something on a record, would probably not be super practical. I'd have to look through a lot of pages of records. So, maybe not the best search if I was looking for a record. But there are 17 addresses that have some sort of match to 123. I have 123, I mean, these are obvious right here. And as I page through, also obvious, they're all 123. Okay, so this one, it's apartment 123, unit 123, suite 123, and so on. We start getting deeper into the matching. Apartment and suite, okay? And then in licensed professionals for 123, I have 102 matches. Again, here's Accela's crummy use of the real estate. Why is there not like 4 or 5 more licenses listed here? Look at all this wasted white space. Instead, I got to page through.
Hey, Kelly, we have a question. It says, can you run a report based on this search?
What search, Kat? Can you type more or verbalize what you're saying? I don't know if you have microphone. Oh, on like this 123 search, maybe, I'm going to assume. Can you run a report based on this search? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by a report. Like, can I export this?
The search you just did, yes.
Okay, but I think she's asking maybe can I export this? Like the results? I can't, not from global search. Kind of a bummer on that. Notice there's no menu button. We need that menu button to have access. I know, and this is kind of, a list of results, but there is no export function available in global search. Because this is pretty slick, because I'm searching far and wide. Not only did I just cast the net looking at record data for 123, because that's just this one block, but I cast the net much wider. It's showing me matching addresses, licensed professionals, 102 somewhere have a reference to 123. So it's not even in their license number. It's over here in their actual contract, in their business mailing address. So, it really dives deep. So global search is awesome. I'm going to say I use global search a lot, but there are some little tips that you have to remember to really maximize global search. So again, let me finish this real quick. 3 documents match my 123. Here it's actually in the document name. I don't know what it is in the top one. I'd probably have to open it. The sign permits, it's not in the record number either, but I bet if I open this, it probably is at an address. It's 123 or something to that effect. Down here in this bottom one, it's actually in the record number. We don't use assets. There are 7 contacts that have some reference to 123, either in their email or their actual contact ID. Now, you might say, what is a contact number? That's meaningless to you guys. I'm not going to lie. When you add contacts to records, they get numbered in the database. They get like a unique ID. And that unique ID that's assigned by the database is this contact number. And so this contact number might have 123 in it, or the actual contact itself might have 123 in their mailing address or their email or something. But there are indeed 7 contacts that have some reference to 123. And I'm just in Lake Oswego, right? I was trying to hit page 2. For some reason, it's thinking hard about that. And then lastly, there are 16 parcels that have some reference to 123. Now, it might not be in the parcel or tax lot. People have lots of different names for this number. We call it the parcel. Some people call it the tax lot, tax ID. I've heard it called all kinds of things. So township range, parcel, section, parcel, all that, lot number, that kind of stuff. So here I see 123, 123. I don't see 123 in the bottom ones, but it's 123 in the address. So the address that's attached to this parcel has 123 reference. Up here, I'm not sure. Jefferson Parkway, this is probably a manufactured park or something. Oh, Mountain Park. I would vent and notice there's 3 dots here. So don't miss this kind of thing either. Acela's really subtle sometimes. Those 3 dots bring you into the reference address so that you could look further. So just a note on that. I'm back at my 123. By the way, your global search will remember your last search. So even if I got off of it and I went to the record page and blah, 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 and I did some work over here, and then I go, oh, I need to go back to global search. I go back to global search. It keeps whatever your last search is. So it doesn't like clear it out or whatever unless you actively X out of it. So global search, pretty awesome. Searches the database far and wide. Now, if I need to search an address, let's take this like 123 Ladd Street. Let's close that search, like just start from square one. Let's just get off of it here, and I'll search like something just totally different. Well, I'm probably going to get a crap ton of stuff. Forget that. I'll just say Kelly. I'll search for something kind of random. I got that. And this Kelly is probably, look, 1,245 records. It's probably going to be people's names or in the address, like Kelly Street, or, I mean, it's going to be in kind of lots of different things. 54 addresses, everything from Kelly Street's probably here. It's the owners associated to the addresses and so on. So I'm going to search the 123 Ladd Street. Enter. So here's what global search does, is when I search for something like that, I will get matches. I'll get 123 Ladd Street, Ladd Street, Ladd Street, Ladd Street. I'm getting 10,000 records. And the first couple of pages are probably going to all be the Ladd Street. But then I start getting down in here. Like, look at this record. This isn't Ladd Street. But it's Suite 123. So Accela, the global search, considered that a match. And the reason that is it does not see this address as a single string of search information. It sees it as 3 pieces. So it is finding for you. That's why I got 10,000 records and 2,600 addresses. What? 10,000, I mean, this is cuckoo, right? It's seeing it in pieces. It's searching you every match for 123. It's providing you match results for Ladd. It's providing you match results for street, believe it or not, ST, or ST anything. Doesn't even mean street. Could be Stephen. It is providing you searches, and it's also providing you search for all of it together as one single item. So that's why you're getting these ridiculous numbers of matches that don't make sense. Well, they do, but now that you know. But it's searching all the pieces separately, giving you results, and then together. So the way to search something as a single string is to surround it with single quotes. That's what I want. And I only want, as a cohesive search term, I want to search for 123 Ladd Street only. Notice our numbers here, 10,000, 2,000, 10,000, 2,000. Watch them change. Now I only have 13 records, 1 address, no licensed professionals, and 1 parcel. That makes much more sense, right? And they're legitimately records that are at that address. No suite numbers, no like in the zip code or any of that kind of extra, or in somebody's license number or whatever. It matched this string exactly as one cohesive search term. So global search. Now you might ask, well, hey, wait, Kelly, when you paste in a record number, you didn't have to put single quotes. And that's because there are no breaks in the pieces of information because there's dashes. So 499-22-, there's no break in this piece of information. That is, so it's so the global search will see that as a single term all by itself. I don't have to put single quotes around it. But the minute I have a break space, it will now search this separate from this, and then it will search them together as well. But you're going to get just an overwhelming number of results that aren't really going to be what you're looking for. So the minute you have a space between terms that you're searching for, surround it with single quotes, and it will change your search results completely to more practical, to probably what you were exactly looking for. Right? When I put in 123 Ladd Street, I wasn't looking for some random record at some totally different address that was at Suite 123. That was not even what I wanted, right? So keys to the kingdom for using global search, single quotes. You do not have to use, so the wildcard in Accela is a %. Okay, so if I wanted to search for something in Lake Oswego, and I knew it was 00012 something. I couldn't remember the last number. The wild card would have been that. Let's see what we get. So I got 10,000 records, blah, blah. I mean, just a lot of stuff, which wouldn't even make sense. This is almost a complete record string. I am only missing one number in the record number, and I'm missing the record type extension. So, and I asked for 49922. How did I get 49918 and 17? And what the heck did I get? Star is the wild card in the global search. Why Accela decided to do a different wild card still baffles me. But I'm telling you, I still haven't got that to work. Notice I have a 14 and a 499. You know, that doesn't, nothing here matches here. So I am going to tell you that when you have to do this, I think you have to do this. Single quotes around it, nothing. Let me try this wild card. Oops. Nothing. So I have not had good luck in searching wildcards in the global search. I want to let you know that we have now, thank you, Stacy. Yay, Stacy. You can't see me clapping, but we now have an Agency Hub website. Stacy, if you're still on the line, or Krista, can one of you paste it into the chat?
Let me find it. Stacy is out for the rest of the day, so let me see if I can find it.
Okay. So we'll get that posted. Oh, hi, Stacy. I was wondering if you could post the agent. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So Stacy's going to post the Agency Hub. The reason I'm mentioning that is we have a global search training document that is linked right from the Hub. So you'll go to the Agency Hub webpage. I highly recommend that you bookmark that. That will be where we post any information that as an agency or an agency Accela user that you will ever need to know. It has links to information about our upcoming upgrade. It has links to being, if you're a delegate user, global search, the user interface. There's a training document there for that. Links to our knowledge base, which is all the electronic training documents we provide. It's essentially an online desk manual, how to make payments, how to run report. I mean, everything you can imagine in the knowledge base. How to submit a help desk ticket. There's a link directly to submitting a help desk ticket from the Hub. The Hub is just what it says, the Hub for you to kind of do all of your agency work with us. So there is a global search training document there. That's why I'm mentioning it. So let's talk about the record list search, and then we're done with the training for today. So the difference in the record list search. One, is it only searches the record list, just like it says. So different than a global search, when I did my 123 Ladd, I need to pull this up just so we can kind of, oops, was it not 1, 2, 3? Now I can't even remember what my dang search was. 1154 commercial, sure. Any address. I just want to pull up something here. Single, 1154 commercial. Oh, wait, I was in Lake Oswego. See, now I'm in Astoria. Sorry, that's what our difference was. Sorry about that. My 123 lad. In Astoria, in staging, the global search hasn't been indexed, so it's not working correctly. That's why I'm using Lake Oswego production live to demonstrate these pieces of, searching the difference between global and record list. Okay, so global is searching the record list and all these other things. The record list is only searching this one square. But the record list search is a super deep dive into the record details, which the global search can't get to. And so let's look at what we have available to us in the record list search, because most users have no idea that half of this is here. They're like, oh my gosh, they ask us to find things, and I'm like, you can find that right in the record list search. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. So one, you can limit your search by module. So there's that. I can search by an address if I only want to see the building permits for it. So let's use our 123 LAD example. And I only want to see the building permits. I don't want to see planning or public works. I only want to see building permits at 123 LAD. And I didn't give it any other criteria. So they could be closed records, open records. And if I look here at the status column, I could see they're largely closed. All of them are closed. There's only 9 records that match 123 LAD in the building module. And whether this is the module of the record list is set to building, just so you know, the record list search will search across modules unless you restrict the search by changing this. If I just put it at select, it is going to search records across all modules. Even though I had my list set for building module, it will show me, now I have 13. Before I only had 9 when I limited my search by module type. I took my module search criteria out, and now I'm simply searching for 123 LAD Street. So it's searching across modules. And I can see that because there are some planning records and some building records. Okay? So note that the page module does not define your searching.
We do
Only
have a question.
this does.
I'm trying to get some clarification on what they mean.
Okay. Why does my Accela snap me? Michelle, what are you talking about? Like, are you talking about like maybe it like shuts down on you, or yeah, we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I'll be working within like what you're showing us, and then all of a sudden my screen goes white and it does a little frowny face and it says, oh snap, and it shuts me out of everything all the time. And our
I'm
IT
sorry to laugh, but it really
Accela.
says that? I've never
oh,
heard
snap.
that. Oh my heck. I have never heard that. Holy cow. Krista, will you jot that down and we'll research it?
And it does a frowny upside down smiley face, and it literally says, oh snap.
Oh my goodness. I think, are you in Chrome? Do you use Chrome?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a googly thing, right? Because Chrome always tries to be funny and things like when it can't find a web page or something like that, it'll put a funny something up there. I am going to say I think that's a Chrome internet issue. So I think that your browser loses internet connectivity, because OSNAP is not coming from Accela. Accela doesn't have that good of a sense of humor.
Okay. Yeah, because I've had IT up here like 3 times and they can't figure it out either.
Yeah. Okay. So, Michelle, what agency are you with?
Redmond.
Redmond. Okay. Can you note that, Krista? And we'll do some research after the training, Michelle, and we'll try to help you with that.
Excellent. Thank you.
You bet. That is so funny. Gosh, I can't even. What a goofy error, right? Okay. So searching, I can search by address. I can search by the parcel number. Notice it gives you a little tip here to search by a parcel attribute. Scroll to the bottom of this form. So in Lake Oswego, they provide us with all of these parcel attributes. So in Lake Oswego, I can say, is it zone of benefit? Yes. I'm just making something up. I don't know what the value is for zone of benefit. So that's important for you to know. Say, for instance, as a Lake Oswego user, you need to know what like the answers to these were provided. So is it a capital Y? Or is it like a mixed case yes? Or is it an all caps yes? Or a lowercase yes? Or an all caps yes? Or you're going to have to know exactly kind of what kind of information was provided by your GIS folks when they sent these attributes to us to load for your agency. So just a note, it is quite literal search. Here it's like a tax account number. So a tax account number would, be actually probably some sort of numeric or alphanumeric, or is it historical? Is it in a sensitive zone? Is it in a flood hazard? We could do a Y. I don't know what the answer, what was provided to us. If it was the full word yes, like I said, mixed case, which would be a capital Y, small ES, you're going to have to kind of first get familiar with that. And you can get familiar with that, just so you know, everybody knows, by looking at, a given parcel in an agency. I just put a 1 in Lake Oswego. I looked up some parcels. I can open, open one of these parcels. And here are the attributes at the bottom. So I can kind of cheat a little bit. Just go look at an existing parcel. Look at what the answers kind of were. So for flood hazard, it's a capital NO. So I would assume that if it is in a flood hazard, it's a capital YES. If it's in historical, it's capital yes. Sensitive zone, capital yes. School districts, I'm not familiar with the different school districts. Neighborhood associations, you get the idea. But I can tell you it's in all caps. I'm going to have to search. If I'm searching in the record list for that kind of detail, I'm going to have to put in an all capital answer in order to get an accurate match. And keep in mind, I put an address in up here. So anything you enter in this entire form from top to bottom will be compiled into one search. So if I don't want to look at the address, and I only want to look at parcels that have flood hazard, that are in the floodplain, in short, I would select yes here, and then I would run this search. I'm not going to do it because I think there's probably a ton. So I'm not going to do that single search, but you get the idea. You can really get into the deep weeds here in searching like some of your parcel details. Now, this is what Lake Oswego sends us. They send us these parcel attributes. If your agency doesn't send us parcel attributes, then there's probably not going to be much to anything listed down here, which means there's no parcel attributes for you to search on. But there are lots of other things. That's just parcel. I just want to bring your attention to this tip because you can now search directly all the way down into the parcel attributes. So if I want to see all the parcels that are in the sensitive zone, I would put that, and that's what I'd search for. You get the idea. So there's that. I could search by the record number. I could search by the IVR reference number. This is kind of every record that's created gets a randomly generated IVR 12-digit reference number that allows the customer to use a phone automated inspection scheduling system. So if for some reason that's the only number they have and they don't know their record number and you're trying to help them, you can search by that number. You could search by the record status. I'm going to tell you right now, this is a doozy. This is a really slippery slope. There are tons of record statuses that we use in Accela. So unless you are absolutely sure what kind of record status you're looking for, don't use record status. So for instance, a lot of people pick issued. I want to see all the issued permits. And you can combine issued permit status with what date it was opened, what date it might expire to and from, or what date it was issued. So I want to see all permits that were issued, from the first of the month to today, so in the past week. And I want to see all records and the status of issued that were issued in this time frame and search. Issued is not the record status we use in Accela for issuance. Issued is a converted record status that Lake Oswego had on some of their converted records before they joined our system. Permit issued is what we use. So the only reason I'm making an explicit example out of that is because you won't find what you're looking for if you use this. So in record status, you have to be pretty darn knowledgeable about, or familiar, a little bit of time spent in workflow and record status or record management to be really confident in the exact record status you need. And unfortunately, you cannot pick multiple. You can only pick one. So you can't say, I want to see everything that's in review. I want to see that, and that. I can't do that. I can only pick one. Can't do a multi-select, so that stinks. And I can't exclude things. So I say that I want to see everything that's issued in this time frame, and I want to reset that one. I don't want to search by status. I want to see everything issued in this time frame. And maybe I say from last year. I want to look at a whole year, things issued from June 1st to today. I can't exclude a status. I don't want to see stuff that's finalized or closed. I only want to see open records. I can't get there this way. I cannot get to that from the record list search because I can't exclude. I can't say, yes, this date range, but don't send me stuff or don't show me results that are closed. I can't do that. This doesn't work as an exclude criteria. This works only as an include. So bummer. I can't really get that far down. So let's just say I want to see that. So I've asked for a year of issued permit data. There are more than 100 records. By the way, in the upgrade we're coming to on June 20th, this will actually show you the whole number. It'll say showing 1 through 10 of 204 records. It won't do this 100 plus crud anymore. Thank goodness Accela at least got rid of that. And before I had to go to page 10, and then I had to do next to get to page 11. Yuck. We hated this, and Accela heard that, thankfully, and they've changed that. So this kind of numbering where you have to page through all this funkiness, that's gone now. Now it'll say showing 100 to 110 of 204 records, and it'll show you the full page range. You don't have to do that 10-page segmenting kind of crud. So here's all the records. I could export them to Excel. I said, show me everything that's issued in the last year. Did it go? I didn't see it pop up. There it is. I can see everything that's exported in the or issued in the last year, and then I can sort this spreadsheet by status, and I could get rid of all the stuff that's closed or finalized or whatever. So unfortunately, you'd have to use maybe some of the export functionality of your search results to dig a little deeper on some of those things where you don't want closed records, or you only want the closed records, you don't want the open records. With record status, it's kind of just a slippery slope. You can't quite exclude or include or look at a group of statuses or what have you. You've got to do it one by one. You do have the ability to look at stuff that was created online. So I'm going to take these dates out. By the way, there is a clear search button. Make it your friend. People, myself included, I forget all the time that I've maybe put a module in it when I did the first search, and then when I came back into the search, I forgot I had put a module in it, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't giving me any results. Clear search, clear the screen in between searches unless you're going to be just kind of refining your existing search. So again, I could look at the open date, a to and from range, an expiration date. This is great because I can look at stuff that's going to expire in the future. I could say, show me all the records that are set to expire August 1st through August, I'm looking in the future, through August 31st. I want to see all the records that are set to expire in that time frame. And it'll provide me a list of 16 records that are set to expire in the month of August. So, maybe I want to send,
What is Soundex search?
So Soundex is things that sound like. So a Soundex search is like if I put in Michael it might find things that look like MYKA, like McKill. Soundex is supposed to do almost like a sounds like. But I have to be honest with you, I'm not totally the whiz on that. This new global search it's really technical. They really kind of amped up the search on this. For the stuff that I demonstrated, I think that's kind of the level you will be caring about, because I'm very familiar with building planning and public works kind of stuff. I think that's going to be more the level you'll be looking at. I don't think you have to worry about Soundex. Good question, because I know it's on the training document. Yes. Oh, yes, it was at the record search. Stop. Good call. Yes, you noticed that. I had forgotten about that. So let me see when I go back in to refine my search. Soundex, right here. Enable Soundex. Good job noticing that, because I always forget that that's there. And I don't care for it. When I do searching, I want to search for exactly what I'm searching for. That sounds like it. So I can search by record type. So I want to look at, and by the way, every selection you make here will refresh the screen. So it's kind of refining as you go. So I said building, so it refreshed. And then I only want to see building commercial, so it refreshed. And then I want to see building commercial mechanical, and that's it. And then I could say I want to see building commercial mechanical that were issued last month. So I could do an issue date range, or I want to see the building commercial mechanical records that were opened last month. They might not be issued. They might already be finalized. Who cares? I just want to see how many were opened last month, and so on. Oh, see, look, and I still have my darn expiration dates in there. Reset. I want these out. Why isn't this going away? There. And so now I just want building commercial mechanical, and I could say, oh, this default in, by the way, this is kind of our like baseline date. You can edit this, of course, though. So there were 11 commercial mechanical records opened in that time frame. I think. I don't think I had any other criteria in here. Just the open date and the record type. And so I'm just really kind of demonstrating. You could search by receipt number. I could search by check number, so I could really kind of dig into maybe some of the payment details. But this is the master of all searching here, right here, custom field labels. I wanted to really bring your attention to this, because this is, I think, extremely powerful, and most users don't know how to use it. And this will be the last. Oh, I'm a few minutes over. I do apologize. If anybody's got to go, that's okay. This is kind of an extra perk. But this custom fields label, what that is if I were to go into a record, let me just open a record. Everything in the named tab that matches the record type, named tab is always going to be likely the O1 tab, are considered custom fields. So I want to search for type of work equals alteration. That's a custom field. So in my record list search, in the custom field section here, where am I at? Right here. The field label was type, you got to type it exactly as it is demonstrated or displayed in the record. By the way, you can just swipe over it, Control-C to copy it, come back into your record list, search, and just paste it into the label field. And the value I'm interested in is alteration. That is one of the values that's provided in this menu. I have to search for it literally as it's typed here, mixed case, capital A, lowercase L-E-R-A, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's key to successfully searching in custom fields. And then I could say, remember I saw my building commercial mechanical in here, so you can't forget that. So I don't want this anymore, so I'm just resetting those. It's going to probably reset my whole search. So I don't want those. I don't want to search for, I only want to search for type of work equals alteration, and I want to look at commercial structural.
We have another comment when you have a chance.
Sure. Okay, let me finish the search real quickly. So I just keep losing my spot here. So I want to look at commercial structural records that have a type of work equal alteration. So I'm combining search criteria to find a certain set of records. I only want to see commercial records that are alterations. And it's going to take a moment because I didn't give it a time frame. I probably should have given it an open date rate. Oh, there's only 16 records. So these commercial structural records are alterations. And I can test my search by opening one of these records, going to the named tab where that information lives, and I can see that indeed type of work does equal alteration. So I can search down to that level of detail, and then I can, because now it's a list of results, I can export that to Excel. And I can maybe create a graph or a chart, or I can show how many records of each type were done last month, issued, expiring next month. Or, I mean, I really want you to kind of recognize the power of what you can really search for. Consider, remember, clearing search, consider combining criteria. Issued in this month that are record type demolitions, or issued all of last year for manufactured dwellings, or opened last year for manufactured dwellings, or manufactured dwelling records that are going to expire in the month of December. I mean, you could really just dial it in. So these can be super powerful right here, this custom fields label and value. You can really dig into the details, especially in public works and planning, because public works and planning have a lot of custom field data on the numbered tabs on their record types. And as soon as I see the label, I can search for any value that was entered there. And so on. I could search by contractor information, their BCD or professional license number, their CCD, those are two different licenses. I could search by owner information. Beware, anytime you're searching for people, this is the last little piece, I'm so sorry I'm over, but when you're searching for people, always use the wildcards. Always. Because people data comes in all sorts of shapes and forms. It might be Marshall, Kelly. It might be Marshall, Kelly, and Frank. It might be for owners. Owners from the tax assessor, they're all sorts of kooky. They come from the tax assessor in all kinds of different ways. And if I tried to search for just straight up Kelly Marshall, I'm probably not going to get anything, because it might have been listed in the property data. Your tax assessor might always do last name first, and so on. So really, when you're searching anything about people or business names, where there's so much variation, is surround the most unique element with wildcards. Marshall's probably less common than Kelly, or maybe Kelly is less common than Marshall, what have you. And search for that name. Same with the business name, like here in the business or contractor name, there may be called Allen Brothers. Maybe search for Allen. And then maybe you don't know if Allen's EN or AN. You could do something like this, a compound search. You don't know if Allen is EN or AN. You don't know if Brothers is BROS or actually spelled out Brothers. I mean, so the wild cards say anything could come before the ALL, anything could come after ALL and before bro, and bro could be brothers or, oops, I touched that, copied and pasted. It could be BROS, BROTHERS. I mean, anything could come after. You can do compound searching. This is a really smart tip for successful searching. If I dug into these records, there's probably in the business name of the contractor some sort of professionals. Match to my search, ALL, BRO. Ta-da! So you really can get in there, right? You can just take a super deep dive and really find the information you need. And so many users have no idea how powerful these searches can be. They really just don't leverage a lot of what is available to them. So I really want to take the time to give you that learning piece and at least kind of get you started on looking at this. But keeping in mind, the record list search is only looking at data that's on existing records, whereas the global search is going to go all the way out and look at it, the reference data, like that separate little file cabinet or reference information, whether it's attached to a record or not. This address might not be attached to any records, so the records might say 0, but the address will say 1. So you can find information beyond just the record list. I am so sorry that I went over. If anybody's had to leave it or has to leave it, get out of here right away, totally understand. Please just go ahead and leave the meeting. If you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to email me. I'm available through the meeting invite. You have my email. Krista, are you A?
I'm here.
Are you A? Krista.A?
Oh, Krista.m.
M.
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, Krista.m.
So, okay, so there's Krista, just so people have access to Krista's email as well. Here is me. So just trying to give you some quick, easy, you can copy and paste our information out of the chat. I've put both our emails in the chat. And Stacy, what are you? She might actually be gone now. So okay, so nonetheless, you have access to Krista and I to send us any emails, any follow-up questions. And please attend next Tuesday, because then we're going to create a new application. We're going to start talking about how to attach addresses, how to find addresses, people, contractors, descriptions of work, what to fill in, what doesn't have to be filled in. Please continue to finish the series, because this is just scratching the tip of the iceberg, okay? Thank you so much for staying a few minutes over. I truly appreciate it. Have a great afternoon.